Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here with us this evening. I am Council President Mally Rosato, and I'm calling to order the reconvening of the council meeting of June 4th, 2020. Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Bermudez,
Present.
Councilman Clark,
Present.
Councilman Gale,
Here.
Councilman LeBron,
Present.
Councilman Mictum,
Here.
Councilwoman Rosato,
Here.
Councilwoman Rossetti, Councilwoman Rossetti,
Here.
Councilman Sanchez,
Present.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Here.
You have a quorum, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And for the record, Councilman LeBron is on the screen. And now, Mr. Town Clerk, could you lead us onto the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I would like to make the motion that we approve the minutes of the council meetings of April 13th, April 27th, and April 27th of 2020.
Second the motion.
Motion has been made and properly second. Are there any discussions? Any discussions? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Bermudez,
Yes.
Councilman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Gale,
Yes.
Councilman LeBron,
Yes.
Councilman Mictum,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosato,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti,
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I would like to make the motion that we place on the consent calendar the following items. Item number 2, Mayor Brown with a company resolution authorizing the city to accept a grant in the amount of $75,000 from CT Next LLC for use as a retail business activation grant along with Trinity College and Hartford Hospital corridor. Item number 8, which is the resolution by the Common Council ratifying policy 006 on sexual harassment, promulgated and signed by Mayor Luke Bronin on October 1st, 2019, as the policy of the city of Hartford and specifically the Court of Common Council.
I second the motion.
A motion has been made and properly second. Are there any discussions? Any discussions? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Bermudez,
Yes.
Councilman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Gale,
Yes.
Councilman LeBron,
Yes.
Councilman Mictum,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosato,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti,
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I would like to make the motion that we receive the following item. Item number 4, Committee of the Whole communication concerning various updates regarding the Hartford Police Department.
I second the motion.
Motion has been made and properly second. Are there any discussions? Any discussions? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Bermudez, Councilwoman Bermudez, Councilman Clark, Councilman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Gale,
Yes.
Councilman LeBron,
Yes.
Councilman Mictum,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosato,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti,
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I would like to make the motion that we refer the following items. Item number 1, which is a communication from Mayor Bronin with accompanying resolution confirming nomination of Michael T. Looney as Director of the Department of Public Works for the City of Hartford, effective upon council vote to the Committee of the Whole. Item number 3, which is a resolution from Mayor Bronin that would allow the city to enter into an agreement to replace the old fleet of golf cars and service vehicles with new units under the agreement of the vendor Easy Go will provide service and maintenance for new golf cars and service vehicles at no additional cost to the city, to a joint meeting of the Operations Management, Budget, and Government Accountability and the Parks, Public Works, Recreation, and Environment Committee. Item number 5, to the Committee of the Whole, which is an ordinance amending Chapter 2, Appointments of Department Heads Requirements, Section 850, Residency Requirements of the Municipal Code. Item number 6, referred to the Planning, Economic Development, and Housing Committee, which is an ordinance revision updating planning and zoning codes for clarification purposes. Item number 7, to the Operations Management, Budget, and Government Accountability Committee, which is an ordinance amending Chapter 2, Section 102 regarding Office of Human Relations of the Municipal Code of the City of Hartford. Item number 11, to the Committee of the Whole, which is a resolution requesting pursuant to the provisions of the Connecticut General Statute 7-186 through 7-194, specifically 7-11188, Section B and Section 5 of Chapter 8 of the Charter, the Court of Common Council of the City of Hartford hereby initiates an action to amend the current charter by authorizing the creation of a Charter Revision Commission acting by a 2/3 vote of its entire membership. And item number 12, referred to the Health and Human Services Committee, which is a resolution urging the Department of Health and Human Services, the Department of Public Works, and other departments to participate in using existing completed research of FAR UVC lighting for an adequate level of disinfecting.
In the motion.
A motion has been made and properly second. Just for clarification purposes, item number 5, which is the ordinance amending Chapter 2, appointment of the department heads requirements, Section 850 of the residency required of the municipal code. That item currently is in OMBGA, correct? And so because it's in OMBGA, it has to be properly discharged to the Committee of the Whole. And I'd like Howard to comment on that.
Through you, Madam President, that's correct.
So I'd like to make
Go ahead.
a motion, if it's proper, a motion to discharge it from OMB.
I'm not sure. I'm not part of the voting committee on OMB. So
Go ahead, Councilman. I was going to respond.
This is at a committee meeting, so can we do that, Howard? At tonight's council meeting?
The motion that's before the council is on referral of various items to committees. What I would recommend is you withdraw with respect to the motion on item number 5, vote on the other matters, and then take that up separately.
So can the council body now vote from committee as a separate item? Tonight, committee?
What I'm suggesting is that the council take up the motions to refer except for item number 5,
Okay,
then determine what its will is on number 5 subsequent.
okay, look, wait, all right.
Okay. And for clarification purposes, that item is and has been in OMBGA.
Madam President, I believe so. But
So
for the sake,
we're making any motions on this item if it's already an OMBGA. What has to happen is once we have our next OMBGA committee, the item is brought up since it's there, and we discharge it and move it to the committee of the whole. Is that a correct statement, Howard?
You can do that, yes, Madam President.
Thank you. Councilman Sanchez.
So in that case, I'll withdraw my motion.
Thank you. So for clarification purposes, we are voting on everything except item number 5.
I have a question. So through you, Council President, do we now withdraw the motion to refer item number 5 to the committee of the whole?
That is correct. We need to discharge it from OMBGA first. For clarification purposes, let's withdraw the motion that's on the floor right now and start all over again for the public.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion that we withdraw the referral items for a restart.
Second.
Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Okay, so we have here a motion to withdraw item number 5.
Correct.
Okay. Councilwoman Bermudez,
Yes.
Councilman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Gale,
Yes.
Councilman LeBron,
Yes.
Councilman Mickham,
Yes.
Councilman Mickham,
Yes. Oh.
Councilwoman Rosado.
For clarification, since I'm very confused right now, I thought the motion that we put in place was to retract the motion that was originally made so that we could start all over again without including item number 5. We still have a motion on the floor. Is that correct, Mr. Majority Leader? We can't make a motion on removing item 5 when we haven't voted it on.
Council President, if I may,
Yes.
I would interpret the Majority Leader's motion as an amendment to the existing motion. So he made a motion initially to refer 7 items to 7 committees, and now he's amending that by withdrawing one of those items. Would that be a proper interpretation, Mr. Majority Leader?
Yes.
We haven't voted on the first motion yet. Howard, can you
It's
get
an amendment.
on this, please?
I'm sorry, Madam President. Yes, I think Councilman Gale is correct.
Okay,
If you just withdraw item 5 for referral, then vote on the original motion as amended, that would be fine.
okay, wonderful. Mr. Clerk, could you please call a roll?
Okay, let's start again. So this is the motion to withdraw number 5
Correct.
amendment.
No,
Okay.
no, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Mr. Clerk. The motion is to refer all the items except number 5 to the committees so named.
Okay. Okay.
And the effect of that is number 5 is still in the OMBGA committee.
Okay. Let's call the roll. Councilwoman Bermudez,
Yes.
Councilman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Gale,
Yes.
Councilman LeBron,
Yes.
Councilman Mickham,
Yes.
Councilman Rosado,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti,
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Councilman Sanchez?
So question through you, Madam President. So now item number 5 will automatically be on postponement, and that is still in OMBGA. Is that correct? Howard?
I believe that is correct. Howard, could you give us clarification on that?
Council President, yes, that's correct.
Thank you. Councilman LeBron?
I'm okay. Thanks for that clarification.
Wonderful. Councilman Clark?
Madam President, I would like to make the motion that we postpone item number 5, which is an ordinance amending Chapter 2, appointments of department heads requirements, Section 850, residency requirements of the municipal code.
I
Second
second
the
the
motion.
motion.
Wonderful. A motion has been made and properly second. Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Bermudez,
I'm sorry, my apologies. This is to refer it to the committee of the whole,
Postpone it.
to postpone it.
Correct.
The motion is to postpone it. Yes.
okay, Councilman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Gale,
Yes.
Councilman LeBron,
Yes.
Councilman Mictum,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti,
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Motion pass.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to make the motion that we place the following items for action. Item number 9, which is the resolution that empowers Council President to select a legislative and legal advisor to serve the Court of Common Council, was a Hartford resident at an hourly rate not to exceed $250, provided further that the Council President shall not engage such counsel until the council has, by resolution, indicated specifically the scope of the services to be provided by the particular council to provide said services.
I second the motion.
For clarification purposes, there is
Madam President,
Councilman Clark, there was a revision to that, and updated.
Copies of it?
Madam President, I don't believe that I have received a replacement copy of resolution number 9.
Give us one moment, please. So in the last email that Sixto sent out, you didn't get a replacement?
No.
I can only speak for myself. I have
No.
not received a replacement item for number 9. And I see from the head justice of my other colleagues that they have not either.
I have it here in front of me. It was sent out at 5:23. A replacement on the agenda. Replacement for agenda item number 9 at 5:23 p.m. Which goes back to the original agenda item.
Is it the email that's the subject is agenda and replacements?
Let's see.
I have that at 521. That's the only one I have from Sixto.
It's agenda and replacements.
Oh, okay, I do have it.
Actually, I stand corrected. I do have it. I didn't see it at first.
for clarification purposes, everyone has gotten a copy of their replacement agenda, correct?
Yep, I got mine.
Yes.
I'm looking at mine.
Okay. So I have a motion that's been properly made and second. Councilman Gale?
I take it we're on to discussion then?
I guess so, because I'm saying, what's the motion?
I believe so.
So the majority leader read a resolution by way of making a motion to take action on it. That resolution has my name on it. I supported that resolution. But I now learned at 5:18, that's when I got it, that the resolution has been changed. And the change has been to remove the last clause in the resolved. And as a result, I would not put my name on that resolution. And therefore, what I would like to do at this time is to make a motion to amend the resolution to put that language back into it. I'm not certain why the language has come out, but let me just read the language as my motion to amend. My motion to amend is to add to the resolved after the dollar amount of $250 to say, and provided further that the council president shall not engage such counsel, such attorney that is, until the council, the city council, has by resolution indicated specifically the scope of the services to be provided and the particular council to provide said services. And I want to say that it's extremely important, it seems to me, that if this city council is going to hire an attorney, that we know why we are hiring an attorney, and that that attorney be given some direction by this city council. I referred back to the charter, which set forth the rationale for having council engage its own attorney. And what our charter says is the council may also provide for hiring its own counsel, SEL, attorney, when in the opinion of council. That means all of us, right? That means, well, all of us. It means at least 5 of us. When in the opinion of at least 5 of us, it is necessary for council to obtain legal advice in addition to the advice of corporation counsel. I don't know, nor does anybody here know, based on this resolution, what legal advice we are seeking. And I do not believe it's appropriate to, although I love council president, let me make it clear, I do not believe that it is appropriate for council president to just willy-nilly have the authority to go and hire somebody to do whatever the heck she wants. If we're going to hire somebody, it seems to me it needs to be defined. Council president has the authority to go hire somebody to give us advice on charter reform or to do a particular investigation. Secondly, I also think it's rather important that when we're hiring somebody, we know who the heck we're hiring and we agree to that. Again, I love you, council president, but you may not always be the council president. And I think I ought to have the opportunity as a city council member to at least weigh in as to whether the particular party whose services are being sought, whether it's Dave Pitney, Robinson and Cole, or John Gale, that I ought to be able to weigh in on that choice. So that is the amendment that I'm making at this time. Thank you.
Second.
Councilwoman Bermudez?
Since we're still in discussion, I would like to add to Councilman Gale's resolve, his amendment. Since I am also in agreement with his amendment, I would like to add, no lawyer who seeks to serve the Court of Common Council can have a disciplinary mark, like a sustained grievance against them from the Connecticut Bar Committee. So I would like to add that as a resolve. And an additional resolve that the selection process for the attorney for city council be subject to a COW meeting by city council.
Madam Council President, I disagree with the amendments and the friendly amendment, and also from Councilman and also from Councilman Bermudez. I do believe that the council gave the council president the opportunity to do this, to hire the council, hire an attorney or a legislative aide at the prerogative as the council president. I trust the council president at her discretion. The way the amendment that Councilman Gail put in, that means every time there is an event or an occasion, she would have to come back to council. So if there's 2 issues in 1 month, we're having a council meeting. I think that's legislatively, that's occupying our time. We have a lot more issues at this time to actually really focus on. So I am not going to be in support of the friendly amendment from Councilman Gail.
If I could, Council President, just because I too had intended to offer an amendment, but I feel like we may get confused if we put amendments on and together. At least, I don't know, maybe that's how we do it, but it seems like we should vote on them one at a time. Otherwise, I'll get confused.
Councilman Mitchell, Councilman LeBron.
Yes. So the potential with the amendments, I realize having adequate counsel and having someone whose board doesn't have any marks against the board and, who is qualified and on the air of transparency. However, with the way that it's written with an amendment, what we're going to end up potentially doing is being a law. It may potentially be a logjam, in that every time we have to refer to the outside legal counsel, that we have to pause and then follow the amendment. That's not the spirit of what was written here. The spirit of what was written here was to have independent counsel to the council. So, we have to be careful not as to create a logjam, because there's we're not talking about potentially one time, in the very near future. We could be potentially talking about multiple times and multiple occasions. And so by adding something that's so strict for review, that can be, like I said, a logjam. And so that's just my opinion.
Councilman Mixtum.
Thank you, through you, Madam President. I would just respectfully push back against both Councilman LeBron and Councilwoman Surgeon, in the sense that I don't think, as a general rule, consulting counsel, especially a whole body consulting counsel, is the kind of thing that needs to go with great speed. We meet twice a month. I would suggest that is enough to be able to approve the scope of this representation. And I think we owe a certain duty. And again, I say this too, as Councilman Gill did. It's nothing personal against you, Council President, but we should be making rules that go beyond the individuals. And we owe a duty to the people to make sure that when we're spending money, we're doing it in a way that's both deliberate and transparent. So I would just say that to have to come together as a body every so often and approve a new job for a new lawyer shouldn't really be a big impediment.
Call the question, Council President.
Thank you. The question has been called.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll for voting on the updated.
No, point of order, Madam President. You're calling the roll on calling the question. You have to first pass the motion to call the question, then take a vote on the actual amendment.
Yes. Mr. Town Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Bermudez,
Yes.
Councilman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Gale,
No.
Councilman LeBron,
Yes.
Councilman Mixon,
No.
Councilwoman Rosado,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti,
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Motion pass.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Well, wait a minute, Madam President.
We still have
Point
two.
of order. There's an amendment on the floor. You just passed a motion to call the question, but you now have to vote on my amendment. And I want to make the point, and Mr. Corp Counsel, you correct me if I'm wrong, but my amendment was not further amended by Councilwoman Bermudez. She attempted to amend it, but never got a second to her amendment. So the amendment that's before you that the question's been called on is simply the amendment that I put there, which was to restore the language that was originally in our printed agenda.
Councilman Sanchez?
So for clarification, the second motion by Councilman Gale is what we're about to vote on to bring the item number 9 resolution back to its original form, correct?
Correct.
So basically, is to vote on the original resolution, correct?
That's certainly my take on it.
So Councilman Gale's restoring the language was seconded by Councilwoman Bermudez. So I am.
No, Councilman Mictum.
I'm sorry, Mixon. Okay, sorry, I apologize, Councilman. And that's what we're voting on, the amendment that Councilman Mixon second. Is that
Which-
correct?
For clarification purposes, can it be read, can the amendment can be read so that all of us are on the same page as to what we are potentially going to be voting on that has been amended?
Sure, as the proponent of the amendment, let me read it again. It will begin with the word and provided further that the council president shall not engage such counsel until the council has by resolution indicated specifically the scope of the services to be provided and the particular council to provide said services. And that is from what was printed on the agenda.
And is that what Councilman Mixon is seconding?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Bermudez,
Yes.
Councilman Clark,
No.
Councilman Gale,
Yes.
Councilman LeBron,
No.
Councilman Mictum,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado,
No.
Councilwoman Rossetti,
No.
Councilman Sanchez,
No.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
No.
Motion failed.
Councilman Gale?
Yes, Madam President, I would like to pick up where Councilwoman Bermudez left off and make another motion to amend item number 9 by adding to it that such attorney shall not have any professional discipline or grievances have been filed against that attorney. And Councilman Bermudez, you can help me out if there was a second part to that.
Yes. Second.
If I could,
Councilman
I
Mixon?
believe, thank you. I believe, and I did talk to
I'm-
Councilwoman Bermudez about this before, that it wasn't grievances filed, but grievances sustained
Sustained.
against
Correct.
the attorney.
And I stand corrected. Grievances sustained
From the Connecticut Bar Committee.
from the Connecticut Bar, from the Connecticut Bar Grievance Committee.
Correct.
Can I
Second.
ask which amendment is this amending? the replacement amendment, is that the one that's amending?
This is amending what is now replacement number 9,
Okay.
which allows council president to select a legislative and legal advisor. And this is requiring that legal advisor not be a person who has had prior discipline against him by the Connecticut Grievance Committee. So if it's a Connecticut attorney, it would have to be somebody who didn't have prior grievance against them. Grievance meaning a reprimand or a presentment. Those are the words of art in the legal community, where a presentment could result in your suspension of your license. A reprimand is just an official sanction against you.
Again, I'm going to call the question.
Can I just say, let's not assume it's always a man. Thank you.
Call the question.
The question has been called. Is there a second on the question?
Second.
A motion has been made and properly second. Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Point of, I have to ask, I'm sorry,
Yes.
what are we voting on now? Are we voting on calling the question, or are we voting on the underlying number 9?
We are calling on the last motion that's on the floor.
No, we're voting to call the question.
Call the question, I'm sorry. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Bermudez,
No.
Councilman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Gale,
No.
Councilman LeBron,
Yes.
Councilman Mitchum,
No.
Councilwoman Rosado,
No.
Councilwoman Rossetti,
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez,
No.
Wait a minute, I'm very confused. No to my answer. I'm sorry, yes to my answer. On the question,
Yes.
okay, you're voting yes.
yes.
Okay. Councilwoman Surgeon,
Yes.
motion pass.
The item on the agenda, item number 9, can we vote on that now?
I would move, I have another motion to amend.
Okay.
Actually, wait a minute.
No, the
An
the
amendment.
amendment.
Voted on calling the
You're
question.
right. You're right.
So you now have to vote on the
Sorry.
amendment.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Bermudez,
Yes.
Councilman Clark,
We're voting on the amendment, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
No.
Councilman Gale,
Yes.
Councilman LeBron,
Yes.
Councilman Mitchum,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado,
No.
Councilwoman Rossetti,
No.
Councilman Sanchez,
No.
Councilwoman Surgeon,
No.
motion failed.
I have another amendment.
Councilman Mixtum?
Thank you. So I would add to this text where in the first resolve paragraph it says, who is a Hartford resident, I would add after that the following text. And a member of the bar of the state of Connecticut in good standing.
What was that again?
One. So you see where it says who is a Hartford resident after resolved? I would add after who is a Hartford resident, I would add, and a member of the bar of the state of Connecticut in good standing. In other words, if we're going to hire a legal advisor, that person should be licensed to practice law in Connecticut. That seems unobjectionable to me. We're paying them $250 an hour. Let's make sure we get someone who's licensed to practice law.
I mean, so
Go ahead.
yeah, I mean, wouldn't that be like, that's kind of obvious, right?
Yes,
Like,
that's what I thought. It's
I mean,
obvious the person,
we're not going to hire someone who's not a lawyer
right?
for legal advice.
And let's put it in. Make me feel better.
No.
I second his amendment.
And I'm going to call the question again.
Is there a second on the question?
What about if they've been disbarred?
Is there a second on the question? Calling the question?
Second,
Who said that?
Councilman Clark.
So, we are now taking a vote again on the question.
Yes.
Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
No. 1 minute, I'm running out of paperwork. All right. All right. All right. So call the question. Motion by Councilwoman Surgeon, second by Councilman Clark. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. Councilwoman Bermudez.
On the call to question.
Yes, on call the question.
We're on call to question, correct?
Yes.
My answer is no. My response right now is no.
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Councilman Gale.
No.
Councilman LeBron.
Yes.
Councilman Mitchum.
No.
Councilwoman Rosado.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti.
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez.
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Motion passed.
So
Thank you,
can we
Mr.
call
Clerk.
the motion on the amendment?
Thank you.
Councilman Sanchez?
Yeah, so now we're back to the original.
No.
We're
No.
voting on my amendment to make sure that we are hiring a lawyer to do legal work.
So through you, Madam President, the language does state an legal advisor. Can we change the legal advisor to an attorney, a licensed attorney? A friendly amendment. Obviously, that's what a legal advisor is, right?
But that's what Councilman Mitchum's amendment was, to be a member of good standing.
Madam President,
Yes.
I think Councilman Mictum has a motion before
On the floor.
council that has been seconded.
That is correct. And we have to vote on that motion. So for clarification purposes, the motion that we are about to vote is on Councilman Mixtum's last amendment.
Mhm.
Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Can't hear him.
Can't hear.
Can't hear.
Sorry. Hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. That's Councilman Mitchum's motion number 9. Okay.
No. I'm sorry, could you repeat that, Mr. Clerk?
I'm just trying to get it straight because there's so many different motions. This is amendment to number 9
Yes,
Correct.
right, replacement number 9.
for the replacement. Okay. All right. And that was motion by Councilman Mitchum, who seconded.
Councilman Gale, I believe.
Correct. I seconded it.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry.
Councilwoman Bermudez,
Yes.
Councilman Clark,
No.
Councilman Gale,
Yes.
Councilman LeBron,
That it be a lawyer, yes.
Councilman Mitchum,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado,
No.
Councilwoman Rossetti,
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilman Surgeon.
I'm sorry, I lost a little bit. I apologize. What are we doing? We're voting for the
Can we
amendment?
have clarification purposes again on the last
I lost
amendment?
it. I lost it.
Councilman Mixtum?
Shall I state the amendment again?
Yes.
Please. Please.
I'm sorry. I'm good. No, I'm good.
Okay.
I wasn't paying attention. No, I'm sorry.
Your vote is no?
Yes, I'm not voting for the amendment.
Okay. Motion passed.
Councilman Clark?
What?
Madam President, through you.
Yes.
All right, because I'm confused now, to be
Me
honest with you. Councilman Mitchum, if you could, through you, Madam President, if it's okay,
Yes.
can it be read where Councilman Mitchum put in, because I'm trying to follow, where this now new amended language has been placed in the replacement resolution?
I can, through you, Madam President, I can
Yes.
read it back.
Yes.
So after the resolved, where it says, who is a Hartford resident, my amendment added the words, and a member of the bar, no, I'm sorry. Wait, was that it?
Yes.
No,
Yes.
I'm sorry. And a member of the bar of the state of Connecticut in good standing.
Okay. So, Madam President, I would like to make the motion that we vote on the amendment to the replacement.
We just voted on it.
We just voted on it.
No, we voted an
On
amendment.
the amendment, but we haven't
No, we
voted
didn't
on the
vote on the original
replacement.
one.
Oh, well, I would have a comment before we're ready to vote, if I may,
Sure.
Madam. We've called them many questions here. I think we ought to have a little bit of democracy and let one word or two speak.
Sure.
I just wanted to go back and respond to a couple of the comments that were made initially, and just indicate one of the comments that was made, it was the concern that every time we need legal services, we had to go back to council. I've been on this city council at this point as long as anybody else on this city council, and that's about 5.5 years at this, or no, 4.5 years, I take it back. And during those 4.5 years, we have not once have we required the services of an attorney. So I'm really confused about the comment that I heard from a colleague about every time we need legal services, as if we're going to be needing legal services on a daily or weekly basis. We've never yet needed legal services. I've not heard any business case for requiring legal services at this time. There's nothing in the whereas clauses here that sets forth a reason why we might need legal services. So it really kind of calls into question exactly what all is going on. What's the burning desire here to have some lawyer that nobody can tell us what that lawyer is going to do. No other colleague here tonight has said what that lawyer is going to do. And yet you want me and other colleagues to vote blindly to give council president the authority to just go and hire somebody every time she feels like it. When do I get a vote as to why we're hiring that attorney? I think that as a colleague and as a council member, forget a colleague, I think as a council member, I deserve a vote as to why we're hiring an attorney. And so I vehemently object to this. I find this to be dramatically overreaching, considerably out of the context of our charter. And I would ask you once again to turn this down or consider going back to some other version. Thank you.
Councilwoman Surgeon,
I want to second the motion by Councilman Clark to call the roll for replacement item, agenda number 9.
and for clarification purposes, can we read what that one states, please, since we've been going back and forth?
This is a replacement budget item that was sent at 5/29,
23.
5/23, I'm sorry. With the last resolve being that the council hereby empowers the council president to select a legislative and legal advisor to serve the Court of Common Council who is a Hartford resident and at an hourly rate of not to exceed $250.
Point of order.
Also too, I'm sorry, but also too, to add the amendment that was just voted on and passed by Councilman Mitchell, a member of good standing with the Connecticut Bar Association.
That's the motion that's pending. You don't have to move to, it's already pending.
Yes, I just want to go back to the original amendment.
Councilman Mitchell?
I also briefly would like to just speak against this entire proposal, even with my amendment, and much for the reasons that my colleague has. But I would just add that it seems to me what this will do is allow council president, whoever that is, to hire someone to hire anyone who's a lawyer for a project unknown, for duration unknown, and amount of money unknown. And even if you, Madam President, always press that duty forward with great faith and goodwill, it looks terrible, right? We're up here basically setting it up so that we can throw money at some friend of ours. And that's the opposite of transparency. And it looks like cronyism. It looks terrible. So I don't think it would be, you've already voted down the amendments. I can't argue anymore for the idea that maybe we should know what the person will do or how long they're going to do it for. But I think we should consider that this looks like a way to just give away city money to someone with no accountability and no control.
Councilwoman Surgeon, you're on mute. Did you want to say something?
I'm sorry, Madam. I'm sorry. No, I was just wanted to say, back again to Councilman Mitchell. Councilman Mitchell, I understand, but when we voted at the beginning of our term to select a council president, I had all faith in her capabilities and not to go off and spend, sporadically what she wants. I believe she is going to make decisions that will represent our council body to the best of the ability. Yeah, so Councilman Mitchell, it's not that, several council before, the ordinance allowed for the council president, several council before us, had a full-time council person on staff. We're not spending that money like that. We're saying is that we're going to give the council president the opportunity, as needed, where she believes she could use, and our council could use advice, not to exceed, 250. So I think even though we are in she's very cautious that we are in a struggle right now, and she's not going to, go ahead and spend willy-nilly. I think she is a very conservative council president, and she will definitely, select the when she needs and when we need help.
Thank you,
Through
Councilman Surgeon. Yes, prior council presidents have had the authority to assign an attorney for council, and none of them have had to pass resolutions. And I just want to thank everyone for having the faith and trust in me that I will make the right decision. With that said, Councilman Mixtum.
Thank you, Madam President. And through you responding to Councilwoman Surgeon, I agree. I have no doubt about your integrity, Madam President. but I am a believer in that old saying that we should have a government of laws and not men. I don't want to make our rules based on who's holding the office. I want to make our rules so that they will endure, and also so that when the public looks at what we do, the public sees us always with an eye toward transparency and integrity. But that said,
Absolutely. And charter change is coming up, and I'll open up the windows to change anything on the charter. So where are we right now? For clarification purposes.
There has been a motion on the floor and it was properly second. And so there is it's time for a vote.
I'm
I
sorry, I
second
didn't
it.
hear you.
So there was a motion on the floor and it's been properly second. So a roll call needs to take place.
On what exactly? On the amended?
On the amendment to the replacement resolution that was read.
on the amended replacement, we've voted.
The one with the good
the amendment.
standing.
Yes, that's what I said. On the amendment to the replacement.
I beg your pardon.
That's all.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Bermudez,
So we're on the amendment that Councilman Migdom made,
No, you're on the, we're on the
on the
main motion.
replacement,
Done.
on the main one.
With his
As-
replacement,
as-
with his
as
amendment.
Wait,
To
can somebody
replace-
say that again?
Sorry, Madam
Where are
President,
we at?
Madam
Yes.
President,
Yes,
the replacement item as amended by Councilman Migdom.
correct, which the only amendment on there is for clarification purposes, that the attorney has to be in good standing with the Bar Association, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
We're voting on that amendment.
No,
No.
whole thing.
The
No,
whole thing with
Voting
the
that
amendment. The whole,
Voting, I'm sorry,
Whole shebang.
You
We're
are
voting on the
voting-
replacement that we received at 5:15.
you are voting
amendment.
on the replacement item as amended by Councilman Migdom.
ready to call the roll? Roll.
oh, Mr. Clerk, please.
Thank you. Councilwoman Bermudez,
Pass.
Councilman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Gale,
no,
Councilman LeBron,
yes,
Councilman Mitchum,
No.
Councilwoman Rosado,
Yes,
Councilwoman Rossetti,
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez,
As confused as I am, I'm gonna go with yes. And I'm hoping I'm voting for the right thing. So.
Councilwoman Surgeon,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bermudez.
No.
Motion passed.
thank you. Majority Leader, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I would like to make the motion that we place the following item for action. Item number 10, this resolution requesting that the Hartford Police Accountability Review Board be created as an independent body not tied to the Hartford Police Department and shall consider reforms regarding policing practices and will also engage directly with the Hartford community and submit formal recommendations on a number of policies and issues. Councilman LeBron, we didn't hear you.
I second the motion.
Motion has been made and properly second. Councilman Mixtum.
Thank you, Madam President. And I have some questions about it, which I will just direct through you to all of the sponsors so that any of them can answer, any of you all can answer. Just some things that I think need, for me anyway, some clarification. First of those questions is recommendations that come from this body
I'm on council meeting.
and go, well, are those binding on anyone? Which is to say, if a recommendation comes out of this body to implement a new use of force policy, is the chief of police required to implement that policy? For you, Madam President.
I am going to have a majority leader answer that question since this is a resolution.
Thank you, Madam President, through you. And I would like to offer the opinion of Attorney Rifkin, if I may not accurately quote, respond to this question. Under our current charter, and I believe also to the city's collective bargaining agreement with the Hartford Police Union, that answer is no. However, it will take a change in the charter for that enforcement to take place, and I believe also to a change in the city's collective bargaining agreement as well. Such as why, I'm sorry, go ahead. That's it.
No, go ahead.
No, such as why what we have experienced already with the Civilian Police Review Board, because there are some things that need to be worked through regarding obtaining more power. If I can, through you, Madam President, if Attorney Rifkin could also weigh in on that, I would gladly appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Through you, Madam President. I think the answer is, frankly, it depends. So there are certain reforms that might be proposed out of this process that could require, under current collective bargaining agreements, impact bargaining. There are other reforms, including changes to the current Civilian Police Review Board, that could be implemented through ordinance, as the current review board is organized or empowered under current ordinance. And so it would be hard for me to answer precisely or speculate. So it could be a function of engaging in bargaining, and it could be a function of adopting, council considering and adopting an ordinance for change.
Councilman LeBron?
Yeah, that's why, part of the resolve has it going to the Black and Puerto Rican Legislative Caucus. So that way, from a statewide level, they can also create changes that would help support us locally, is my understanding.
Councilman Mixtum?
Just for clarification, I think I did understand this. Anything that comes out of this Police Accountability Review Board to become binding would require some other step, whether that is, as Howard said, impact bargaining or action by us. There's nothing, this board by itself can't do anything that is immediately binding. Am I correct? And if I could, may I ask another question, I guess, to the majority leader? Thank you. How is this board then better or more useful than our existing public safety committee?
Can you repeat the question?
How is this board, given that it can't impose any binding changes, any better than our public safety committee, our committee of the council?
Through you, Madam President, I would say this body, it would be made of not politicians, such as what we had heard. This body would totally be made up of those that are regular citizens, residents of the city of Hartford with diverse backgrounds that will be researching and coming up with policy recommendations. And so I wouldn't say that now we are not yielding our power, but we're using the residents of the city that may have a different perspective than we do to provide recommendations on how they feel, our police recruitment process, promotional process, and other policy issues and procedures would be better suited for us to take action on, so they can feel more empowered and feel better about how now certain policing is done.
Councilwoman Surgeon?
When this resolution was proposed, one of the things I looked at, you always hear in the community, why don't we hire more people of color to diversify the police department? And the police department would have different answers. Well, there's always assumptions and there's always data. When we have a minorities who are joining the police force, within a couple of years they're gone. What is the underlying reasons? We hear the assumptions, but nobody has dealt deep on the underlying reasons. What is causing these issues? And then when you find out the underlying causes, you can start drafting policies along with our state officials to start implementing those changes which is needed. A lot of the comments refer to this as the police review board. This is not the police review board. This is gathering information so we can make really salient and important decisions and how we can turn around our police department. We hear the call that we need to, turn it around. We should cut the budget. Well, let's find out how we can do so, how we can reimagine the police department, to basically what it really was before and what it should be, and that is protect and serve. So let's find this data so we can start making some great decisions going forward. That's my opinion.
Councilman LeBron?
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. What I would also add is that the Civilian Police Review Board already has had a process where there is kind of a functional work stream that they're already used to. What this does is potentially expands it, piggybacking off of Councilwoman Surgeon, to explore other areas. The one thing, though, that I want to mention is that we were all elected by the community. And so we know what community needs based upon what constituents reached out to us about. So this isn't solely saying that we're going to follow the guide solely of this committee. We can still, as council people, put in things to create reform ongoing. It's not as if we're going to put this through and then sit back and wait. I don't think it's time to wait. I think society is telling us that it's not time to wait. So this isn't all inclusive in that we are now all on, we can rest on our laurels. And I would behoove us all that we shouldn't be doing that, but to also utilize this accountability task force to gain further insight from experts and from people who are really vested in the community. The other thing too that I want to just bring up from public comment is that folks said that the mayor is going to be sitting on this accountability review board. That is not how I understand it. I think that is incorrect. That the mayor would be sitting on here. And I think that we need to sit back and look and allow the community voice to also have a part in implementation and reform policies without us having, or any of us having a political agenda. We need to listen better and we need to listen more. Thank you.
Councilman Beecham?
My last word on it. I am going to say that I'm going to vote for it, but I think this is absolutely the lowest hanging fruit. This feels to me like us doing next to nothing so that we can say we did something. And frankly, I take my colleague, Councilman LeBron's word, and I believe that. I fear that what this will do is that it will keep us from doing more transformative reform more quickly. I mean, we got hundreds, if not thousands, of young people in our streets who are asking for change. We got more emails over these last few days on one issue. I mean, we got a lot of emails on one issue, and that issue was the funding of the police department. This is a moment where people are riled up and they are concerned. And I think us creating a committee that makes non-binding recommendations, which even if adopted, there would be no good way to enforce them against the police department because our civilian review board doesn't have true disciplinary power, is like 6 steps removed from doing anything substantive. It is the bare minimum. So let us pass the thing, but let us not tell ourselves that we've actually done anything to make a real change. And let's move on to do some real things on Wednesday and thereafter.
Councilwoman Bermudez.
Through you,
And then
Council
I think
President.
Councilwoman Rosati.
I agree with the words of Councilman Mictum there. You know, we heard from over, and I was jotting down notes how many people actually testified in today's public comment. We heard from over 24 people. Maybe we would have heard from more had we had more time. But of those 24, there were 8 specifically who spoke on this resolution. And all of them, except for one, who was Donna Swar, who said she was speaking in terms of having done a comparison between the Police Civilian Review Board and this resolution. But all of them, so 7 of them, had the same question. They said, why would the mayor appoint people to this board? They asked a lot of questions in reference to strengthening and wanting to strengthen the current Police Civilian Review Board. So instead of taking away from one area, why don't we add to it on council? And so one of the things that we heard from a current Police Civilian Review Board member, we heard from someone who helped draft it back when Mayor Saxon Perry was elected. We also heard from people in the community like Brother Kelvin Lovejoy. We heard, and you have all the names, Janice Fleming and others, voices of women of color. And they all echoed the same sentiment, which is we need our Police Civilian Review Board to have more teeth. And so here we are trying to create a new system. Meanwhile, our current system needs a better support. It needs more members. It needs for the process not to be only selected by the mayor, the members selected by the mayor, and to have true input from the community. And I think when community members said, and to Councilman Nick LeBron's point, when they said, oh, the mayor is going to sit on, I think when they read that line in the resolution, on this resolution, calling for appointments by the mayor, I think that's how they interpreted it. It's as if the mayor would be sitting on because only he can make the appointments at the end of the day. And that's something that we've struggled with. So I think all in all, I personally will not be supporting this resolution because I think it really won't do anything. It's like a little Band-Aid that really won't effectuate the type of change that we need to realize.
Councilwoman Rosati? Councilman Sanchez?
Yes. And I'd like to follow up on what Councilwoman Bermudez said. So, the Civilian Police Review Board, it doesn't have teeth, and I mentioned this before and time again. What it does, it needs the support at the state level so that whatever it recommends for disciplinary action or awards, it has the level of authority to enforce that disciplinary advised action. Okay, and right now it doesn't have it. With this resolution, I believe that by sending it to the General Assembly Black and Puerto Rican Legislative Caucus, it will help create a stronger commission where when they advise a recommendation of whether it's an award or disciplinary action, it has to be taken seriously and it can be enforced by the board to the police chief. Right now, they can advise, and they only report on complaints, by the way, they can advise to the chief what they feel should be done, and that's where it stops. And at that point, the chief makes a decision. And then, of course, we have the union that's involved that's going to negotiate a different outcome. So right now, the board does not have teeth. It does not have that level of authority, and they need that level of authority so that it can be effective for our community. Other than that, at the very bottom of the resolution, it does state what the Civilian Police Review Board does not do, and is to create, here, let me see, the goal of the board will be to monitor recruitment in the hiring practices, monitoring staffing levels, promotions and managerial and command positions within the police department to ensure the department is racially balanced, which includes those in command positions. What I would like to do with that, if we can have a friendly amendment, is also to make sure that while trying to keep a well-balanced, a racially well-balanced command and police department, I want to make sure and make it clear that everyone shall qualify as well for any positions applied for.
Councilwoman Surgeon?
Councilman Sanchez, you just read exactly what this resolution was intending to do, monitor. When we interviewed the police chief back in, I believe, February, one of the things we asked was that there was no qualified minority in the police department who could have and wanted to apply for the police job, police chief position. There was not even a black or Latino assistant police chiefs. Okay? So one of the things we have not been doing over the last several decades, we have not monitored this situation. We hear about it. How many people are there ready to take the sergeant exam? How many people pass the sergeant exam? Those are statistics that we actually truly need to actually really start implementing any really major radical change, working with the police department, working with the union. What is going on behind the scenes? Again, you just read exactly what this resolution stated, Councilman Ches. Monitor staffing level. Why is it that we, out of X amount of captain, there's only a few minorities? There is no black captains. Why is it? What is happening over the last, 20, 30 decades that we don't have any people of color in the managerial position? What has happened? I don't know. And those are the information and I'm looking for with this accountability board. Is to delve into that information and give us that information. We need it. We just can't go off and start making drastic decisions without having facts to back it up. Thank you, Council President.
I'd like to say something. So the way I look at this resolution, I mean, I do support it as, every time we write a resolution and asking, the state to either help us or make legislation at a state level. But if we take a step back and we look at ourselves, we were elected by the people to be the voice of the people. And so, with everything that's going on nationwide, we have a public safety committee that can ask the questions and ask for those statistics that Councilwoman Surgeon just asked for. I think, and this is conversation that I'm going to have with all council members as council president, is why isn't that this body can't make the decision to pull a meeting with our mayor, with the union president of the police department, and with the chief, and sit down and have a conversation and see where we could start. Now, we could go up to the legislation, but when our mayor sits down and negotiates with the union president, that's where we need to have our mayor negotiate in order to have some of these very important changes that we need in the police department. So through this resolution, we could have an advisory board. I know what my residents want. I've been through meetings with, different people from statewide. We know exactly what the problem is. How do we address it? When do we as a council body sit down, because we have the power to, and make those type of decisions? Instead of creating another task force, another advisory board, when we have the power and we have a public safety committee board. Yes, Councilman LeBron. You're on mute. You're on mute. You're on mute. I can't hear you.
Hey, I'm sorry. My dog, his favorite
Okay.
time of day when his girlfriend walks by in the front. So if you hear him, I apologize.
It's okay.
So the you know, one of the things is that the difference is that the independent investigative power, following similar in Rochester, New York, we have, you know, the ability, you know, there's potential to subpoena. There is the authority to conduct misconduct hearings. There's the disciplinary authority, and there's the power to elevate systemic problems. The Civilian Police Review Board right now, I don't think that has been the process, at least as I understand it. Anyone correct me if I'm wrong. They've only been really mired in complaints. And then they make complaints, and then there's really no teeth to the Civilian Police Review Board. I also agree that with our committee, our Quality Life and Public Safety Committee, absolutely, we can implement power and implement change. You know, I've told everyone independently, you know, we have those abilities as council folks. But I think the difference here is that it's the community and the investigative power of the community to think that they can possibly have, or hope that they would possibly have lenses and mind frames that we may not have. The same way with the reopening task force. We had independent reopening task force with people that specialized in various areas that gave us very strong recommendations. Now, I think we do need to go beyond recommendations, as Councilman Mickham said, and go into action, but this is the start. And so by implementing and enforcing and calling on our Black and Puerto Rican caucus to implement legislators where we can go and do the things that I just described, I think it's the start where we could still, we could potentially see real reform. Although it's not there and it's just a small step, but this is the process in that direction.
Councilman Mixon?
We could create a committee that can issue binding orders to the chief. We could do that. Or we could issue binding orders to the chief. And instead, we're creating a committee that's going to issue non-binding orders to us to then go ahead and issue probably more non-binding orders to the chief. And like I said before, I think we're spinning our wheels. We're trying to look like we're doing something quick. I know we didn't send it to committee. We're just going quick. And we're going to end up with another committee, which will give us some great recommendations. And we will run into the same problem, which is getting from great recommendations, getting from what we understand from our constituents, to getting the mayor and the chief to do the thing. So let's just vote on this, and then we can get on to the business of something that matters.
Call the question.
Second.
Town Clerk, we've had the question call. So if you could please call the roll on the question.
Councilwoman Bermudez,
Yes.
Councilman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Gale,
Yes.
Councilman LeBron,
Yes.
Councilman Mitchum,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti,
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. And now we're going to vote on the motion that's on the floor. Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Bermudez,
I'm sorry. People hear me?
Councilwoman, yes,
Okay. No.
Councilman Clark,
Yes.
Councilman Gale,
Yes.
Councilman LeBron,
Yes.
Councilman Mitchum,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rosado,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rossetti,
Yes.
Councilman Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
Yes.
Motion passed.
And I believe that concludes our business for today. Councilman Mixtum?
I believed that, and forgive me because I don't know how all of our procedures work, but there had been some discussion after the PDH committee met, whenever that was, Wednesday, about suspending the rules today so that this body could consider what that committee had passed out of committee, which was a resolution concerning housing stabilization. And I confess that I don't know, can I just make the motion to suspend the rules? I don't know how it works.
Mr. Majority Leader?
No, Madam President, no, the suspension of the rules will have to take place in the beginning of the meeting before we actually started our council actions. So whatever you intended to discuss at this meeting would have to be put in time for agenda day for our next meeting.
Gotcha.
Okay. So with no other business to conduct, I am now calling this meeting to recess until Wednesday, June 10th at 12 p.m., where we will deliberate the budget. Thank you, and everyone have a great evening. This meeting is adjourned.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.